The Balance of Power Dota 2 6.86 patch has finally been released in the test client and should be released very soon in the main client. Many people have been waiting for this particular patch for quite a few weeks now, considering that the previous patch was not so balanced, though it was named the Balance patch. Funnily enough, I believe it failed abysmally. But now we've got the 6.86 patch. It comes with 4 main highlights that I would like to check out. There will probably be a patch analysis soon in the coming future. But for now, let's take a look at the main components that I would like to pay very close attention to. And I'm sure these are the things that you would firstly see as you take your first glance at the patch when it finally drops in the main client. I hope you'll have fun. I don't really play the game much anymore, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who are still enjoying the game, still getting all the rampages in the world, and enjoying Dota 2. A quick summary on the patch is that, of course, like every other patch, there are some hero changes. They've added 4 new items to the shop that we'll be able to obtain and buy. One is the Fiery Fire, the Dragon Lance, Ether Lens, and the Iron Talon. There is a new Arcana for Zeus, and the Zeus remodel has finally landed. There have been terrain and neutral camp changes. There's a new rune called the Arcane Rune, and of course the new hero Zet. So now let's take a look at the main new hero, his abilities, and what he does. Now, in terms of some extreme hero changes, fair and fine, there have been some rebalances and retweaks of all the heroes within the patch notes themselves. There's been a small group of heroes who have been very under scrutiny in the sense that they felt either too weak or just out of place in the game. In this particular case, we'll be looking at Death Prophet, Ricky, Faceless Void, Lone Druid, and Doom. These heroes, fair and fine, were decent or extremely good in previous patches, but as time went on and the meta changed, these heroes didn't seem to fit into the game in any plausible way, and I'm sure Valve had noticed this as well. And now they have come under a lot of scrutiny and of course have received some hero updates to their abilities. And these updates are complete reworks of spells and new spells altogether that replace some of the old spells. For example, Faceless Void no longer has a passive called Backtrack, instead he has Time Dilation, which has its own special effects. Doom has Doom Blade, all these cool things. I hope you take a look at them and of course enjoy. Now the map changes. Oh my word, the map has been restructured. This kind of makes sense because as they kept on changing the map, they made Roshan in a more neutral position that wasn't so biased to one side. It wasn't as biased to the dire side as it was in the past. They put it in a more neutral place. They've made a few more changes to address the hard lane, or should I say the off lane aspect of the game. Usually this hard lane, short lane, however you want to name it, or the solo off lane has been kind of skewed in one direction. For example, if you are in the Radiant team, you are able to pull creeps from the dire jungle into your lane so as to pull creeps out of your lane and make their wave push, but this actually wasn't so possible if you were the dire off lane fighting against the Radiant safe lane. The mechanics just didn't work, so now they've structured the camps differently. They've switched some camps around, and of course they have shifted one of the camps near the dire off lane, which could potentially make pulling that camp potentially possible for the dire off lane. But even if it's not possible, if the dire off lane is being pushed out and has some form of jungling ability, the camp is close by for him to steal. And of course this means that with the structuring of camps, it is much harder and more difficult to chain pulling camps as a support to keep the off lane out. These things are there to kind of balance the game in the sense that the standard of life, if you read the patch that's in the description, the standard of life of supports is very good. They're having more items that they could buy in the early game, and they're having to save much more gold than they could in the past, meaning they can become bigger threats, cheaper smokes, cheaper sentries, cheaper couriers, cheaper observers, cheaper dust. It's all just to hopefully get people to play support, as it's a role that's usually frowned down upon, and by doing so at least we have to ensure that they don't become too powerful, and that's limiting the pulling of the camps such that they can't get as much experience and as much gold too fast in the early game, making them ramp up and become too strong, amongst other themes that they're trying to implement within the game. And finally, before I go, I'd like to give a special thanks to Dota Cinema for always having good documentation of some of the patch notes in terms of visual form for people to see. I'd like to thank them for the awesome videos, and I would like you to have a final look at the new items that are exposed, or should I say the new items added into the game currently in the test client going into the main client, and you can see and read the effects of what they do. I would like to know what you think about this patch, and of course read everything about the patch. It's very important. If you really love this game and you want to know all the nuances within the game, I would advise you to read the entirety of the patch. I cannot promise that I'll be able to do a patch analysis, but I hope that this highlight reel of the patch will be enough for you to understand what has been added into the game. And I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe. Goodbye.